welcome back to the Evolution of Mom. I am so excited to have another special guest here with me today. As you know, I love bringing in women who align and hold so much value in helping women find health and happiness as well. And as many people as I can bring to you in that space, I'm absolutely going to, because I do believe when we hear other people's stories, other people's passions and gifts, it just allows us to dive more into those spaces ourselves. So I am so excited to introduce Rae-Lynn, my beautiful friend, who is so magical. And one of my favorite things about her is she just holds so much beautiful space for women to find themselves, to go on a healing journey, to dive into who they truly are. It's just one of my favorite things about you. Also, you taught me about moon water, so I think that's really cool. She's definitely one of my
Ooh.
magical friends. So thank you for being here. I would
Aw,
love to
thank you
just,
so much.
I'm so excited. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Ooh, so I am Rae-Lynn, and I'm a lover of nature and all things adventure and joy. And I have two wild, crazy, beautiful boys. And my journey began after a very long time of like ignoring myself. And that was even prior to being a mom. Amy and I were kind of talking about this, wishing that we talked about this earlier. So I was always a strong woman who had my shit together. Sorry for all the moms out there that don't swear. I have a little bit of a F-bomb dropper every once in a while, but I was a strong woman who always had to keep myself on. I was always there for everyone else, and I always stuffed my emotions down. I never felt them. I was very high in the joy and the fun and the experience of just go, 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 go. And I never took that time to pause and breathe and be with myself. And through that journey, I just lost connection. I lost the knowing of who Rae-Lynn was. And I just became everything that everyone else thought I was. And so that was huge. And that was prior to kids, that was prior to self awareness. And then I became a mom. And it kind of got a little bit worse. I had a very trying labor and delivery after a very smooth pregnancy. And if that didn't kick me into self-care and self-love, 1 year later, I was 6 days back to maternity leave and I was first on scene to a tragic accident. And that sent me into like a very vortex of self fear. I want to say fear more than anything. I was going to say a different word, but I'd say fear and more survival mode. Fear of life being taken and fear of not being in control of what that looks like. And through a year of just like floating and not really being conscious of what I was doing, I hit rock bottom. And that is like my greatest blessing. And that's one of the reasons I stand for women the way I do, is I deeply desire for women to connect themselves before they hit rock bottom, before they get to that point of like, I have to do something because this is not who I am anymore. And it was beautiful. I found that as soon as you made that commitment, me personally, and all of my clients, as soon as you make that commitment to this is not who I am and I'm ready to become her, the right people just started showing up in my life. Amy's one of them.
Oh.
Yeah. And from there, I just started saying yes. Even when it felt super uncomfortable and awkward to say yes for myself, I just started saying yes to these opportunities. So my first experience was actually investing in a very magical coach and healer. And she's become one of my beautiful friends as well. But I dove deeply into a coaching program with her where I spent 7 weeks learning and really diving into who I am. And then I did some energetic healing with her. And from there, my life has just exploded and kept growing. And I knew that that's where I was meant to be, was in a space of supporting women becoming who they actually are in their heart, not who they feel they need to be for society.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's so beautiful. Okay, I want to celebrate you here for a quick second because when we say we've hit rock bottom and we can see that as a beautiful thing, that is one of the greatest spaces to get through, like to. And when we can turn what I like to call our mess into our message, like that's exactly what you're doing. And like I promise anyone who's listening, when you are in the muck, it's sometimes hard to see that, but when you can heal and come to a space of seeing why it needed to happen and the beautiful lessons that came from it, like what a beautiful space to get to. And I love that you invested in yourself. And even in the time that I've known you over this last couple of years, you've never felt like you have arrived. You continue to grow and continue to change and evolve. And it's so beautiful because I think that's something that a lot of people need to hear is that we can continuously grow. We can have goals of who
Oh,
we want to be and who we're ready to be. And then when we reach there, it's okay to keep going. And I think once you're there, you realize that too, as well. And so, yeah, I love that about you, that you're just always so committed to growing yourself and now committed to helping others do the same.
yes. So that's actually, I think, my driving force to continuing to grow and evolve and heal is that I like to say it's ever evolving. It's never going to stop. It's a continuous journey. Life is crazy and we never know what we're going to be put put in our path next. And for me, having tools and techniques and this space within myself to be grounded in who I am and really strong and unwavering in knowing who I am, it makes those more trying moments that are still going to happen in life a little bit easier. So, yeah.
Do you find now that you've like switched your awareness that when you're in these deep trying moments, because like you said, it's life, we always will have them come at us. Do you find that you see them differently even when you're in them? You know that even though it's
Oh,
hard and
yes.
it's messy right now, you know that there's something on the other side of it. So it kind of makes it not easier, but there's just a different awareness around what you're going through in those moments.
Yes. So this is something I dive deep into with my clients is I actually feel like I have shifted from being like in that moment and like not being able to see anything beyond it to being an observer. I've noticed that like when I'm in a very uncomfortable or very trying moment, it's very easy for me to like be like, what am I learning through this process? Or how is this working with me? Where before I would be very stuck in life sucks. like like life hates me. Why is this happening to me rather than for me? And that was a huge shift in my whole entire experience of life is when I was able to rise above it and be like, there is a lesson and a learning in this experience. And this is guiding me to where I'm meant to be, where I'm going to be more of service and more in joy. Cause that's really what I strive for is I want women to be super present in their life and I want them to experience joy. And from those two, anything is possible. Wealth, love, like adventure, whatever your soul is craving, like from that space of being present and embodied in joy and feeling all the things that come up through life, that is where I truly feel we are capable of being our creators of our life.
I deeply believe that too. And switching that mentality of why is this happening to me and that whole victim mindset that we all easily fall into, which is okay, to why is this happening for me has been extremely life changing. And as you go through these trying moments and you see each time why it was happening for you, it gets easier and easier. And don't get me wrong, I still have moments where I'm in super trying moments where I'm like, okay, I'm in the middle of it. This sucks so bad. What is like, how is this happening for me? And inside, I'm like, I can't see it yet. It's really shitty right now. I can't see it yet, but I know it's coming. So I'm just going to be in the muckiness of it and ask myself again later. And that's
Yes.
okay.
That's where I love to say, like, we're still human. And
Yes.
like, that's our humanness, like feeling the feelings and the uncomfort. Like, it doesn't matter how aware you are of yourself, you're still going to be in those moments. What I find is it's how beautiful we're able to reconnect to ourselves and be like, okay, let's come back to ground zero and what and who am I in this? And where can I stand more for myself rather than allowing everything external to affect how I'm experiencing this?
Mhm. And finding joy, I find, really comes down to having to rediscover who you are as an individual, because your joy as an individual, you can have joy as a professional in your business, as a mother with your children, as a spouse with your partner, you can find joy there as well. But the ones that really fill your cup and lead to growth and get you in that zone of abundance, especially, I find, are ones that are true to you. And I have talked to so many women that they just say, well, I don't even know what that is. I don't know who I am outside of all of these hats I wear, and getting back down to an individual state of what brings me joy. I think that's very common. So what would you suggest as a beginner to start
As a
finding those
beginner.
little moments of joy as an individual?
So I love the word joy. I'm going to go in a little bit of a tangent here. I used to strive for happiness. I really wanted to be happy. And it was when I was about to go do a group speaking event with a whole bunch of women, and I decided to Google the definition of happiness. And it blew my mind that happiness was like external. It was everything outside of yourself. And so the next thing was on Google, because it's so crazy. It says people who've also looked up what's the definition of joy. So I happened to click it. And it was so beautiful because the definition of joy was everything inside yourself. Mm. It was that joy comes from you and happiness is external. And that's when I actually shifted my own mindset. And I'm going to be very transparent and vulnerable. That was only like a year ago. It wasn't something that began 7 years ago at the beginning of my journey. It was a year ago. And in that moment of realizing the difference between happiness and joy, everything changed for me. It was no longer my kids needed to make me happy, or my partner, or my friends, or the vehicle I drove, or where I lived. It was like, holy shit, joy comes from inside. And if I don't know who I am, then like how is anybody else going to be able to be a part of my happiness? And so as soon as I realized that, it was like I could connect to myself, and I actually started writing. So what brings me joy? And sometimes there was nothing. Like sometimes my page was blank, and I was right there with you, and right there with all these women who are like, I don't know what brings me joy. And actually, through investing in myself, like Amy says, and having women ask me harder questions, because I still invest in coaches and I still invest in different programs. And I do that because I still have an ego and an inner child who does not want me to ask myself the harder questions. So through like kind of being like, how do I come back to myself? So for me, I love play. I love laughter. I love ease. So for me, it actually became one day I was at the park with my kids, and I, instead of sitting on the sidelines, jumped in and played floor is lava with them. And in that moment, like they think this is super cool, but what they don't realize is I'm like just embodied in myself. Like I was like back to that little girl inside me that there was not a care in the world. And that moment, yes, I was playing with my kids from the outside and people, that's what people saw. But for me, I was having fun. And this was like a joyous moment. And when I took that experience, I was able to see that this beautiful mug, this brings me joy. Doesn't matter if it's hot coffee or a matcha or a tea, this coffee cup, I'm able to actually bring that joy now to like, oh, this is nice.
Yeah. Intention.
Yeah.
You can throw intention at anything that, me too. I picked this mug very specifically today. I'm like, this one makes me think of Rae-Lynn. It's all sunshine and rainbows. Right. And that was chosen with love and intention.
Yeah.
And I talk about that as well. So I quickly want to go back to you saying when you jumped into your joy, how it automatically rippled out into your children.
Yeah.
I think that's so beautiful. And it's a point I like to hit home. I bet you I bring it up almost every podcast that I do, is that when you take care of yourself that way, you center yourself that way, you find joy within yourself that way, it automatically ripples out, which is why this whole self-care journey is the most selfless thing you can do, because it ripples into those around you who you want to serve, who you want to love on. So you finding your joy not only increases your capacity for joy as a mother, but it's helping you and has led you to serving the women that you do by serving yourself. So I
Yes.
think that's so beautiful. And yeah, finding joy in is with intention. So like
Yeah.
me choosing this mug today brought me so much joy, but that was intentional. I was intentional about this is going to make me happy. This is going to bring me joy. I'm going to have peppermint tea to start, which maybe was a mistake. I feel like I need some caffeine. But it was so soothing and beautiful. But some those beautiful little simple things that you almost are automatically doing for yourself
Yeah.
with the shift of intention towards joy, those little things can become soul filling and cup filling and discovering and joyous.
Well, we can take it one step deeper. Like a cup of coffee can be like very joyous, or
Mm.
hot tea, especially now that we're shifting into cold, like cooler months, depending where you are in the world. But like here where we are, it's getting cold. And so having that hot cup of tea or coffee in the morning is so amazing for me. But something that I never did for myself prior to this was I wouldn't consistently wash my face before I went to bed. I
Mhm.
would just sometimes like go to bed because I was tired and I just didn't. And now I'm intentional. Every night before I go to bed, I go into the bathroom and there's a whole routine. And even in that, like that self care and that taking care of myself and like kind of washing the day away and coming out and feeling great before I go to bed has made a huge shift in even how I sleep and how I wake up the next morning. So that has been, it's simple little things I have found rather than these where I thought it was going to be these huge moments. It's these simple, intentional little things that have made the biggest impact in how I experience joy and how I show up for others. I love how you said, like, it ripples out. That is what I have always said. So, like, when you fill your cup, I've actually shifted the way I say this. I used to say, when you fill your cup, you can pour from a full cup. But what I realized through working with clients is that when you poured from that teacup right here, it depleted you still. And I didn't like that. I didn't like when you pour from your full cup that it still takes away from you. So what I've shifted to saying is, here's your teacup and you have this so full, it's overflowing to this other teacup right here. Your reservoir, we'll call it. And you pour into others from that cup so that you are always full.
Ooh,
Yeah.
love that.
So that you're not depleting yourself ever and you're pouring from your overflow. And that right there was a huge lesson that I learned through a beautiful coach I invested in. And I was like, wow, that is
Yeah.
truth. Because I always was filling my cup and feeling like I needed to fill my cup more. But now the things I do every day, they keep me full no matter what. And I pour from my overflow because then everyone's getting the best of me. Not at the end of my day, I have very little left in my top teacup. And it's like, nope, we're just going to pour this little last bit into someone else. And that's not what I stand for. I want women to feel whole all the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is the most beautiful thing I've ever heard. I love that so much.
Yes.
Oh
Yeah.
my
And so
gosh, it
that's
just shifted my
where,
entire thing there because I love telling women that it's important
yeah,
to like discover that you can give from a space of fulfillment and joy and vibrancy and from that full cup, right? But the extra cup.
yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. And so that's been huge. Like I give myself permission to fill that cup in whatever way, because I know that once that cup's full, I can give to my kids, my friends, my work, my clients, random people I meet on the street. All
Mhm.
those people that enter into my world get to have the best of me.
Mhm.
Don't get me wrong, I'm still human. I have bad days, like I have bad moments.
Absolutely.
but but I know that like when I'm full, whether that be working out or drinking my water, simple things, it's always the best of me.
Yes. And it's simple things. It's small, consistent things built up over time that lead to those big changes. So, like your example of washing your face every night, instead of, again, it's a mindset shift. Instead of thinking, oh, I can't go to bed yet because I've got to do this whole thing where I have to wash my face and seeing it as a negative and as a burden, you get to go and have a moment of self-care and self-love.
Mhm.
The intention again around it has to be, okay, this is me showing myself some love, and you'll never regret doing it, right? Even if it's like a little bit of a kick in the ass in the moment to be like, remember, you're going to feel better after you do this. You always do. And having the intention of, this is a moment of self-love, self-care that I intentionally want to be consistent with, to fill my cup, to show myself joy. It's the little
Yes.
things. It's the little things.
Well, and then that, when you're able to like implement that intention with those little simple moments, Amy has said this, like, I am constantly investing in myself. I am constantly taking new trainings and investing in new coaches and new experiences. And when I'm intentional with those little moments, it makes investing in myself in like a magical money investment more empowering,
Yeah.
because I have never invested in myself. And like, we could go into a very like literal conversation here, but like, I have invested a lot of time, energy, and money into who I am sitting here talking to you today. And never once have I been like, ooh, that wasn't good. Like, never once did I not celebrate and feel who I like, feel like it was 110% worth it. Like, whether that was a free training, a like very expensive coaching program, like, it's all the intention you have with it. And from that little moment of washing your face or enjoying your coffee to investing in a coach or going away for a retreat, something that
Yes.
you know you're going to come back, or a girls trip, like, it doesn't even have to be that, like something that you know is going to fill your soul and your heart. Those moments are so worth it. They are what brings you back to the woman who's inside of you before all of those hats that you wear, and it allows you to be and remember who she is. So
And
I
stand
love that.
tall in those other hats.
Yeah.
It does. And I know so many women who, oh, I could never go away for the weekend. I could never spend that money on myself, or even the free trainings. Oh, that's a lot of time away from the household and away from. We have
Yeah.
to shift that. You have to be ready to shift that, because you are so worthy of that time for yourself. Maybe you're not ready to invest in that yet. Women see anytime they spend money on themselves, it's taking away from someone else. Right.
Yeah.
So that's
Which
another,
is actually that's a whole nother
I
call, but
know we might have to do like a whole nother money abundance
yeah.
episode, because that's a whole nother thing. But again, all of that comes down to worthiness and
Yeah.
lack of self-care. And yeah, it's not always possible to go away for a women's weekend. Sometimes it is about having a cup of tea and being
Yeah.
intentional with it. But if you can go away for the weekend, go.
Yeah.
Oh my
Oh,
goodness, go.
I am going to share a story. I'm going to make it my own, but I was listening to this beautiful woman I've connected with over Instagram speak about how her husband actually encourages her to go.
Mhm.
He encourages her to go every couple months on a weekend away, because he sees that the woman he fell in love with comes home, and that he celebrates that. That's who he wants to spend his time with. That's who he wants his kids to see. And he understands that she is on all the time as a mom. There is no day off when you're a mom. When you're in your home or your space or like your energetic field of your family, you are always on. You're not going to just like let mom things go. But when you can truly escape and like truly let go, even if it's for a day, this is why I've started to create day retreats for women and moms, is because even one day, it doesn't have to be a whole entire weekend, even one day of just like completely disconnecting, trusting that your partner or your parents or your friend has your children, or if you're just a woman, just like a space to reconnect with yourself. Because when you love yourself and when you know yourself, it actually allows other people to get to know you and to love you that much deeper. And that's who I want my children to know.
Yes.
I want my children to know me, not the me who is drained and exhausted and tired of saying, pick up the peanut butter off the floor 100 times in one single day, or can you clean up your Lego, or hey, it's time to go for a walk in nature and it takes 30 minutes to get out the door. Like, I want them to know the me that's like, hey, let's have a Nerf gun fight. Like, oh, chores can wait for an hour. Like, let's just go do something and be together. Like, I want them to know that, mom.
Mhm.
And when I notice this, and I'll share, like, when I am not pouring from that second reserve cup, I get depleted really fast.
Me too.
And it could be one day of like crazy emotions from my kids that have so much going on in their little worlds. And me just not even being able to be like, okay, pause, breathe, go hide, have some 10-minute breathing sessions and just connect 5 minutes, like whatever you have time for, and just come back to yourself. I don't even want to imagine where I would be today if I didn't invest in all the things I've invested in, because it scares me to even think about that. It really does. And I think that's where my whole entire mission comes from. And I know yours as well, is like, I want women to experience this life from wholeness, loving themselves, being themselves. I was so disconnected from who I was for so long that like I can look back and there's moments where I'm like, who was she? And what took her to that space?
Yeah.
And then we have these really beautiful social media platforms now that bring up your memories from 13 or 14 or 15 years ago. And what I have realized over this last even 3 weeks, when my memories are popping up and they're longer memories, like 12 years ago, 13 years ago, long before I was ever a mother, I knew it all back then. It was just not something I was willing to embody. The quotes that are coming up that I wrote as my statuses and all these things are things that I deeply embody now. But back then, it was just like a thought in my mind.
Mm-hmm. It
So
wasn't who
that's
you were ready
where,
to like project outward as,
yeah,
because we put on this almost this armor, and
yeah,
everything that we allow to dictate our life is very external.
yeah. I would say I've never had an addictive personality, but when I was actually thinking about this right before our call, I would almost say that I was very addicted to that external gratification and that external validation of who I was. I was
Yes.
not a woman who was connected to my intuition and trusted myself. I always went to friends for advice or like something I read for advice. And I never was like, what does Rae-Lynn desire in this moment? Who is Rae-Lynn? What does she need to fill herself up? It was never something that I was capable of even knowing or practicing in that moment. And now when I see how I am in that moment, it is really empowering to see that shift, right?
Mm-hmm. And it makes you appreciate all of the things you've done along the way and all the investments you've made, right? You said the time, money, and energy, because it is all of those things, even if it's not money, it is energy and it is time. It is, things that you are so worthy of doing. So coming back to bringing in those self-care moments, some things that we can do at home, right? As much as we would love to help you take those huge leaps right away, I do believe in finding things that align with yourself, that help you come back to center, and even taking those small baby steps to invest in yourself as well. And I know you and I love morning routines. And when we step away from our morning routine, it feels different. The day is different. We're more reactive than proactive. And this is a way that you and I both love to love on ourselves. And when we get stressed and when things happen in our life, I know we tend to step away from it a little bit. Just like I was telling you before this call, I was like, we've had such a crazy week with our son having some health issues with his teeth. And I instantly stopped taking my supplements. I haven't woke
Yeah.
up early once because I've been up in the night with him. And obviously there's reasons I haven't been waking up, and I am totally accepting and aligned with those reasons, right? Sometimes we need to be full on mom mode. And I'm just so grateful to be able to do that and have space for that. But now I can feel it. I'm so
Yeah.
ready to get back into filling
Loving
myself back
yourself.
up. And a
Yeah.
huge part of that for me is making sure I'm hydrating. I notice a huge difference when I don't drink enough water. I need to take supplements and nourish my body, and starting my day in a proactive space.
Mhm.
And I know you think that
Yes.
way too.
Yes. So I'm very much like what Amy just said. So when life is crazy and chaotic, my mornings are the first thing I push off.
Mhm.
When I need 20 or 30 extra minutes of sleep, my mornings get pushed. And that's sometimes the only time in the day where I have time to myself, 100%. So waking up an hour before my kids makes such a difference in who I am and how I'm able to be of service to clients, to myself, to my children, to life. So I'll be very honest. I have fallen off that bandwagon in this last month, coming back into school routine and getting the kids ready every morning and finding that I have absolutely no time for myself. I have created a morning membership for women through this to join me. It's really, that's what it is. It's for women to join me in a guided 30-minute morning ritual routine, however you want to word it for yourself, just 30 minutes where it's just you.
Mm-hmm.
You and who you want to be, and space for you to be with yourself, space for you to become who you want to be.
I love that. And I think for someone who isn't used to doing that on their own, when I'm ready to learn new skills or gain clarity or challenge myself, I love having it guided first. Like still with meditation for me, I still need it guided.
Yeah.
As an example. And so coming back into our mornings, I'm so excited for this. I'm going to call it the 6 a.m. club that you
Yeah,
are
I love that you
starting.
called it that. I loved it. Honestly, I was like, damn, why did I not think of that name? That is a good one, the 6 a.m. club. So that'll be like the name under the surface for
I
sure.
love it. I love it. And I know for both of us and women everywhere, as soon as life starts to hand us those chaotic moments, our self-care is almost the first thing to go, even though we know it's the first thing that's going to bring us back into the state we desire to be in. So I am just so excited to get back into early mornings. I'm so excited to have it guided by
Yes.
you. I know there's going to be some movement, some journaling, some
Yeah.
mentality. I'm very excited about it.
I am too. And I've really given myself permission for it to have duality. So it not to be the same every day. So it'll have the same like kind of base structure. So I've kind of created, I like personally, I've played around with morning routines so much. And I know you have as well. I love movement and getting into my body first thing in the morning. And I have a really hard time going into just instant meditation. So there will be movement and then there will be space to just be with yourself, sometimes meditation, sometimes just breathing. And then there will go into a space for journaling and gratitude. And really, after creating all that space within your body through movement and through breath, that's where we get connected to ourselves. That's where we're able to create space to actually be with what is there to be seen. And so there will be some like days where it might be like a little bit more emotional and harder. And I know that it's going to be real and raw, like showing up at 6 a.m. Like there's going to be no makeup, hair's going to be thrown up, like in comfy clothes. And it's going to be real. And that's what I'm really excited for, is the women that I know that are saying yes to this and joining me. That's what they're craving. And that's what they desire, is to be with themselves, and for it to be real, not for it to be like I've been a part of so many morning routines where like I'm like, whoa, I don't look like that, I'm not like that, and I want this to be real. Like I'm doing this alongside you guys. Like this is as much for me as it is with the women that join me. And yeah, it's going to be so much fun. I called it Rise with Intention, and I love that that's something we've been talking about this whole entire call, is like the intention of it, right? When you rise with intention, it changes your whole day. 30 minutes can change the trajectory of your whole day.
Yeah, it really can. It really can. Showing up for yourself in the morning and starting your day from a proactive space instead of a reactive one of having the kids like instantly waking you up or whatever it is that wakes you up in the morning. Maybe it's your alarm and you only give yourself so long to get to work. Like it's very reactive. And actually, most of us start our day in that sympathetic nervous system, in that fight or flight, which just shoots our stress hormones up, which is what we kind of run off of for the whole day as our source of energy. It's this fight or flight space. And so coming at your day from a parasympathetic nervous system, from that rest and digest and that grounding, is extremely life-changing. It changes your whole day. It changes how you attack everything for the rest of the day. And so that is something that it's the first thing that I start doing again when I step away from and when I need to step back into myself and step back into self-care. So I'm just so excited. And I really encourage you, if you've never had a morning routine or have felt the need to get up early and try things like this, do it this way. Do it with someone guiding you and someone who, I mean, accountability, let's be honest, is huge. I'm really excited for the accountability part. I know it's 6
I've been
a.m.
calling it
Rae-Lynn's going to be
soft.
ready there.
I've been like calling it soft accountability
It
because
is.
throughout all my experience, like we talked about this a little bit, so it's wonderful that it's coming in. Like I'm a witness. I get to hold space for women. I get to facilitate, but you as the woman and the client and the participant, you are doing the work. You are transforming. It's nothing I'm truly doing. I'm creating and I'm holding space and I'm showing up as myself. And you are doing the transformative work. You are doing that powerful self-care, self-love that's going to impact your whole entire day. And I'm just here to witness it. And that is one of the things that I have deeply learned to love about choosing to do this.
I think that's so beautiful. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. So if this is something that is exciting for you, aligns with you, maybe feels a little uncomfortable, that's important. Uncomfortable is where growth is. That means you need to lean in a little bit.
Yeah.
Uncomfortable is good. Lean in. This starts October 6th, I believe, right?
Yeah. So Wednesday, I'm actually starting it with the new moon. We kind of wanted to go into the magical side of things, but this will be our little bit touch.
That's okay. You can teach us about
So
the moon in the mornings.
yeah. So we're going to begin with the new moon on Wednesday, the 6th, and we're going to go for 4 weeks. So it'll be a monthly membership and you can recommit and set a new intention every month is what my intention is as we grow and evolve and as we become more consistent, our intention is going to shift and change. And so I've got it all written here. So my intention, I'm going to look at my notes because I've actually so my intention with this is a safe, sacred space for women to be held, to connect with themselves, to breathe, to slow down, to feel, and to release, which all just creates space for them to become their more magical, connected self. And I have created this like in the energy of like, you are so fucking worthy. Excuse the French. You are deserving of love and safety and security and joy. And there is a space. So this will be like I've already created it. So it's a private Facebook community collective. So there's space for you to be vulnerable and to share your experience and other women to be there with you along the journey through the ups and the downs, to feel support and to do this with such ease and grace. So I wrote down here, we've kind of already talked about it, but like I wrote, who's this for? And I wrote women, all women, but more specifically, women feeling disconnected from themselves, women feeling too busy to be with themselves and putting everyone else first all the time. Women who are exhausted, whether it's from chasing kids or chasing the corporate ladder. Women who are strong, yet need space for someone to hold them, for them to be safe to feel their emotions. Women who feel burnt out, knowing that they are meant for more in this life. Just a space to begin. And so that's really what my intention is. So like I said, it's going to be a 4-week container, and it's actually worked out. I went through the calendar that it would be a recommitment, resetting your intentions every new moon. And that's really where I created this, because a new moon is a space where everything is dark, where it's all like nothing's illuminated. You are just in a space to create and be, and setting a new intention on the new moon is going to amplify this. So we will flow from new moon to new moon. And when that full moon is amplified, that's when we will have space and we'll already be connected into ourselves, so that we are grounded when everything's illuminated inside of us and we have more to move through and more to release and embody. So that's really where that comes from me. I'm really excited. The women that are saying yes to this are so beautiful and so powerful. So
oh my gosh. Can you feel it? Can you feel how much you need this woman in your life? Oh my goodness. Okay. I am going to give all of her information in the show notes, and reach out. Let us know if you want to be a part of this experience. This episode's going to release a few days before that gets started. And I'm sure there's always opportunities to jump in as well if you're hearing this later on. So I will give you all of her information. You absolutely want to find her on Instagram. She's very inspirational and just such a light in this world. So thank you, Rae-Lynn, so much for coming
Thank
in and
you.
sharing your magic. I feel like there was so many segues we could have gone into
I
too. So I feel like we'll
know.
have to do this again.
Yes.
Absolutely. So
Thank you
thank
so
you
much for
so
having
much.
me.
I'm so excited that you were here. And thank you for giving us your time. Time, I really believe, is our only limited commodity. So thank you for listening and enjoying this episode today with us. Thank you so much. Talk next time. Bye.
Bye.